All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're diving into a fascinating new study that finally gives us some hard data on the latest AI coding tools. And I'm not talking about the simple autocomplete ones. I'm talking about the new autonomous agents, the ones that act like a brand new developer on your team. So what really happens when you let one of these things loose on your project? Well, let's just say the answer is way more complicated than you might think.
So for a while now, right, we've gotten used to AI assistants kind of giving us a little nudge, a suggestion here, a line of code there. But listen, the whole game has changed. We've entered a totally new era. We're talking about autonomous agents that can take a high-level task, figure out all the steps, write code across a bunch of different files, and then, get this, submit a complete pull request for a new feature, all by itself.
Okay, so before we can really unpack the wild results of this study, we've got to be super clear on something. There are two very, very different types of AI tools out there. People tend to lump them all together, but honestly, they're playing on completely different fields.
Think of it this way. On one side, you've got your AI assistants, like the GitHub Copilot we all know. They work with you, right inside your editor. They're like a really smart pair programmer sitting next to you, whispering suggestions. But then, you have the autonomous agents. These things work for you. You basically give them a job to do, and they go off on their own, digging through the entire code base, making a plan, and getting it done. It's less like a partner and more like, well, like a new junior dev on the team.
Yeah, that's the real key word here, agentic AI. The defining feature is just how autonomous they are. We're not talking about just spitting out a quick function or a little code snippet. No. This is about understanding a big, vague request and then creating and executing a whole multi-step plan to actually deliver it, with you barely having to check in. It's a massive, massive leap from what we had before.
So the big question is, how do these things actually hold up in the real world? Not in a lab, but out in the wild. Well, that's exactly what researchers wanted to figure out. So they set up this really clever experiment, watching hundreds of real open-source projects as they started using these powerful new agents.
And I really want to stress this. This wasn't some sterile, controlled lab setup. Researchers from Carnegie Mellon were looking at actual GitHub repos, tracking everything, development speed, code quality, both before and after an AI agent was brought on board. So what we're about to see is a super authentic, real-world picture of what happens.
Okay, and this is where the story takes a really interesting turn. As the researchers started crunching the numbers, they noticed something weird. The projects didn't all behave the same way. They naturally fell into two completely distinct groups. And that's what created this kind of tale of two teams with wildly different outcomes.
So let's meet our two teams. First up, you've got Team A, the agent-first team. Think of them as the AI newbies. They'd never really used tools like Copilot before, so this powerful new agent was their very first experience with AI coding help. Then you have Team B, the IDE-first team. These folks were the total opposite. They were seasoned pros, already using AI assistants in their daily workflow. For them, this new agent was just another tool to add to their collection.
So you see what's happening here, right? It's the perfect natural experiment. You have two totally different kinds of teams, and they both get their hands on the exact same new AI teammate. So what do you think happened? Did everybody get a huge speed boost? Did the experienced team just pull even further ahead? Let's find out.
Well, the results turned out to be a classic double-edged sword, and they uncovered something really crucial that anyone thinking about using these tools needs to hear. It's definitely not as simple as AI makes you faster. Oh no, it's way, way more nuanced than that. Okay, check this out. The difference in speed is just staggering. Team A, the group that was new to AI, saw the amount of code they were shipping per month go up by a whopping 77%. 77%. Now what about the experienced team, Team B? Almost nothing. A tiny 1% bump. Basically, no change at all. So what does this tell us? It really looks like that massive productivity jump is a one-time thing. It's that first hit of AI. If your team is already getting help from an AI assistant, throwing an autonomous agent into the mix doesn't seem to give you another huge boost. You've already picked all the low-hanging fruit, so you hit this point of diminishing returns. Okay, hold on. So Team A is just cranking out code like crazy. But, and this is a huge but, that leads to the next and honestly the more important question, what about the quality of that code? I mean, is it any good? What's this doing to the long-term health of the project?
And here it is. This is the other shoe dropping, the hidden cost. The researchers measured something called cognitive complexity, which is basically a fancy way of saying how much of a headache is this code for a human to read and understand. And for both teams, the complexity went through the roof.
It shot up by 35%. The code the agent wrote worked, sure, but it was just messier, more convoluted, making the whole project harder to maintain down the line.
Let's just sit with that number for a second. 35%. That's a huge jump in how hard it is to work on this software. And remember, this wasn't just the team that got that big speed boost. This happened to everyone. It didn't matter if you were an AI newbie or a pro. It didn't matter if you got faster or not. The agent consistently made the code harder for humans to deal with.
So, where does that leave us? What's the final verdict here? Well, it looks like we're staring down a classic engineering trade-off. You know the one? You can have speed now, but you might pay for it later. It's short-term gain versus long-term pain.
And this table just lays it all out perfectly. Look, if your team is new to AI, you get this massive pro, a huge instant speed boost. But the con is serious. You're racking up a ton of technical debt in the form of messy, complex code. Now, look at the team that was already using AI. They get the exact same con, that 35% spike in complexity. But they get basically none of the pros. They don't get any faster. For them, it's pretty much all downside.
So the bottom line is this. Whether or not one of these agents is a good idea for your team, it totally depends on where you're starting from. The big speed boost, that's conditional. But the risk, that messy code, that seems to be universal. Now, this doesn't mean these tools are useless, not at all. It just means we have to be a lot smarter about how we use them. It means every single piece of AI-generated code needs a really tough human code review, and maybe, just maybe, we should use them for smaller, more contained tasks instead of just letting them run wild on huge, open-ended features.
And that really leaves us with the million-dollar question that every single software team needs to be asking right now. For the teams that can get that incredible short-term speed boost, is it worth it? Is it worth taking out a massive mortgage on the future of your code base? That's the trade-off, and figuring it out is going to define this new era of building software.